you've got a kind of a brief biography of Sophocles, and I just want to go over the real highlights for what we're talking about. Born around 496, died in 406 BC, so he lived 90 years, so kind of do away with that notion that everybody before the 20th century died in their 40s. It's just nonsense. Wrote over 120 plays, only 7 of those survive. 3 of them are the Oedipus plays. Okay? They were written in this order: Antigone, Oedipus the king, and Oedipus at Colonus. Antigone was written in 441, Oedipus the king in 430. We don't know exactly when he wrote Oedipus at Colonus, but it wasn't produced, it wasn't actually performed until 5 years after his death. So I think it's written after this, but obviously before his death. That's the order in which they're written. The order in which the action in the plays occurs is Oedipus the king, Oedipus at Colonus, and Antigone. And one thing to be aware of, when Sophocles writes these plays, he's dealing with very old stories. These are stories that are already well known among the ancient Greeks. Okay? By the time he's addressing these in the 5th century BC, these are already mythic tales. I mean, they're 500,000 years old, at least. Okay? So he can write this play first and have his audience understand the background to the play. All right? Nothing else really about Socrates. Let's look at the conventions, of Greek drama in 1436 and 37. So, Greek drama arises out of the religious festivals. I think I talked about earlier here. It arises out of religious festivals. It dies out. Classical drama dies out 2nd century or so AD. Rises again in the Middle Ages around 1000 AD, and then reaches its climax with kind of Shakespeare in his period. Doesn't necessarily die down again, but it reaches its 3rd great period, drama does, in the 20th century. 1437, we start to see some bold print words. And you've got a diagram, or drawing, I guess, on 1438 of what a Greek theater would look like. You can still go to these today. I mean, the Greeks built out of stone. These things still survive. They still put on Sophocles' plays during the summer in some of these theaters. Some of them, they put on the plays exactly as they would have been put on in Sophocles' day. So the actors wear masks. You can't see the actor's face. The mask always stays the same, the expression on the mask. It's thought the masks somewhat amplify voices, so that what's being said down here on the stage can be heard way back there in the amphitheater. Okay, but orchestra, it's not what we think of. We think of an orchestra as a group of people with a bunch of instruments making music into a symphony or something. The orchestra in an ancient Greek play was the area in front of the stage where the chorus came in. Chorus, a group of 12 or so men, and did their lines. It literally means dancing place. Not like they're dancing. They're doing 2 things with the orchestra is when it comes in and leaves. It's walking, essentially. It moves from one side, that's the strophe, and then it moves to the other side, and that's called the antistrophe. That's it, okay? They chant their lines. The skein or skene, however you want to pronounce it, is the building at the back of the stage, just like the tiring house that we talked about with Shakespeare, where actors come out of, characters come out of and go back in. Sometimes it would have an overhang over part of the stage so that people could descend from the ceiling. Okay? That's the Deus ex machina, God from the machine. So that when you have a play that has a supernatural solution to the problem, okay, okay, you'd have that God descend and solve the problems, all right? Aristotle, who we'll talk about in just a moment, Aristotle pretty much regarded any play that had a deus ex machina kind of resolution as not a good play, for the simple reason that it's not natural. How many times in real life do you have a God descend from the heavens, wave a magic wand, and solve all the problems? There are plays where that literally happens, okay? Where the God comes down, solves the problems. Aristotle didn't think that was a good, essentially kind of play. Why? It's not realistic. Tragedies, according to Aristotle, should be realistic. So, turn over to the next couple pages. Page 1439, first long paragraph. The Greek drama is divided into 5 parts. Okay? Just like the Shakespearean drama is divided into 5 acts. Okay? So, first part's prologue, then the parados, then the episodia, stasimon, and exodus. So what does that mean? Prologue. It's exactly what it is defined as. Pro, before, first, log, logos, word. It's the first word. It's the opening of the play that sets the context. It gives us the necessary background information. It's when Oedipus and the priest come out at the beginning of this play and tell us there's a plague on Thebes. Okay? So, that's the prologue. In the parados, the chorus makes its first entrance. Okay, so notice there's only one parados. So you get prologue, and everything kind of before the parados is the prologue. All right? It's setting all the background. It's giving us the exposition we need. Then you get the parados, and when the chorus comes out, largely what the chorus does is the chorus interprets for the audience what's just occurred. They also get perspective on it. For example, the chorus in here often refers to the actions or will of the gods. Okay, they're adding information that the audience might not be aware of, right? So after the parados, you then get a bunch of episodes. Each episode, middle of that paragraph, is followed, okay, by a stasimon. Think of episode like you think of a TV show. You turn it on one night, that's a single episode. You turn it on the following week, that's another episode. All right? So you have many episodes in the play, and you have many stasimons. Stasimon comes after each episode, chorus comes out and kind of says, here's what it meant. All right? Very last thing of the play, the Exodus. Last scene. Follows the final episode in Stasimon, and that's when you hear the final lines, and then the characters leave the stage. Okay? Tragedy. Bottom of that page. We have a different meaning for tragedy than Aristotle did. We think of tragedy as like what happened in Indonesia over the weekend. 7.5 magnitude earthquake, 10-foot tidal wave, 800 people dead in a matter of minutes. That's a tragedy. It's something cannot be avoided. Okay? It's a horrible event. That's not what Aristotle defined as tragedy. For Aristotle, a literary tragedy is always about somebody of a high status falling. That is, losing their high status. The somebody of a high status has to be somebody we look up to. Okay? So for many people, let's say, in the United States, that wouldn't be the president, right? Because roughly 50% of the population doesn't look up to this person. Let me take that back. I think even some of the 50% of the population essentially that voted for him don't look up to him as a model to be emulated. In a tragedy, the tragic hero is somebody you want to be like. So pick your person you want to be like, whoever that is. But something happens that causes that person to fall from that perch, that position of respect and authority and such. Okay? And what makes it tragic is the person has no control over the events, okay, that cause him or her to fall. All right? So, turn the page. What causes the person to fall? Aristotle said in his little book on poetics, which is one of the most important things written about literature, Aristotle said every tragic hero has a hamartia. Okay? Hamartia is the same word that in the Greek version of the New Testament gets translated sin. But it's not sin in the Christian theological sense, as in a vice, as in something you've done wrong. Hamartia literally means missing the mark. So if I had a target on that wall, and I was standing here with a pistol and I missed the target, that would be an example of hamartia. I missed the mark. Okay? So how do you miss the mark? Why do you miss the mark? Why do you have this hamartia? Well, Aristotle kind of supplied that also. He suggested everyone's hamartia could be understood possibly, as every tragic hero's, not every person. Tragic hero's hamartia was his or her fatal flaw. That is, it was a problem they were born with, a character fault. Not all Greek scholars understand Aristotle's understanding of hamartia, however, to be this. Okay? He did say, pretty emphatically, what characterizes every tragic hero is this. They suffer from hubris. Hubris is pride. But it's not just ordinary pride. You know, you guys take an exam in your major field and you ace it. It's right to be proud of how you do on that. This is the kind of pride that says, I am always right and everybody else is wrong. That I am never wrong. Okay? It's, to use an old word that used to get put in front of it, overweening pride. Okay? It's arrogance. It's the kind of pride, I would argue, you don't have to agree with me on this one at all. I would argue it's the kind of pride you have to have in order to run for president. Because you're essentially saying, I'm the only person out of 330 million people that can solve the problems of this country. That's taking to yourself, you know, kind of godlike qualities. I think. I could be wrong. Okay? So, it's got to be somebody we admire, but that person, because of this hamartia, falls. So, Aristotle said one of the purposes of tragedy is to produce catharsis in us, the audience. Catharsis of what? Catharsis is the purgation. It's the release of two things, pity and fear. We're supposed to, when we read Oedipus the King, we're supposed to pity Oedipus. Feel sorry for him. Why are we supposed to fear what happens to Oedipus? Because Aristotle said, we see in Oedipus ourselves. We see that if I were put in that same situation, I might do the exact same thing. It's what Hamlet said the purpose of acting is. To hold the mirror up to nature. Guess where Shakespeare gets that from? Aristotle. Because drama, the very word means to do, to perform. And every drama, according to Aristotle, was to use the Greek word, mimesis. It's an imitation of life. So that when we see this person up here fall, we are to understand by that, you know, if I act like that, I too might crash and burn. Okay? So, what you see in the play is the building up of tension, building up of the pity and fear, and then it gets released so that by the time we leave the play, we think, man, that was intense. Notice, that was intense. The intensity leaves by the time you leave. You've all experienced this. You've been to some kind of action film where it's just one thing after another, and it ratchets up that tension, and then you get the resolution so that you walk out and you're not all, ready to go kill or whatever. Okay? Now, part of the way that happens, that catharsis is produced, is because as the play goes on, the tragic hero has a reversal of fortune. We've talked about fortune's wheel and everything. He's been up here. What's the reversal? He goes down here. That reversal partially occurs because of, the other word on that page, his or her recognition. That is, the tragic hero undergoes an aha moment where they go, oh, shit, now I remember. But it's not necessarily I remember, it's, oh no, did I just do what I think I did? Okay? When it's revealed, the truth of the situation. Now, Oedipus's reveal doesn't happen all at once. It builds. It starts slowly, and he's like, what? What did you just say? No, I gotta hold on to that. Hamlet's reveal kind of comes quickly. Okay? Last thing, before we start talking about the play. Dramatic irony and tragic irony. What is meant by those? They're the same thing. And this is why it's important to realize the audience of the first play in 441 knows the story. They completely know the story of Oedipus and his children. All right? Because with dramatic irony or tragic irony, you have a character say things, and the character means one thing by that. But the audience hears that and goes, oh man, you just totally screwed yourself. We're going to see Oedipus early on say, if I don't find the killer of Laius, let this curse fall on my head. Well, the audience already knows who the killer of Laius is. For them, it's not a suspense. This isn't a whodunit. They know whodunit. What they've come to see is how Oedipus comes to understand himself how it happened. Okay? So in tragic or dramatic irony, the audience knows more than the characters on the stage. And they understand kind of the double meaning behind what characters often say. So, Oedipus the king. Widely regarded, your little introduction to it, as the greatest of the surviving Greek tragedies. When Aristotle wrote his little book on poetics, this is the play he referred to frequently as the perfect tragedy. So he's using it to base everything on. So look at the beginning. We get our list of characters. We have Oedipus, king of Thebes, a priest of Zeus. The next character's name is pronounced crayon, like the colored things you used to color with. Brother of Jocasta, not Jocasta. You got a chorus of citizens and their leader. By the way, all the actors are male, just as in Shakespeare's day. Okay? You have Tiresias, a blind prophet. I wish your editor had used the word seer instead of prophet. A blind seer. He sees, but he's blind. Okay?
Visual impairment.
Shut up. You have Jocasta, the queen, wife of Oedipus, and it doesn't say, it probably should, wife of the former, now dead king, Laius. Okay? A messenger from Corinth, a shepherd, a messenger from inside the palace, and then Oedipus' two daughters. Antigone and Ismene. So, time and scene. We're at the Palace of Thebes. Many years have passed since Oedipus solved the riddle of the Sphinx. What was the riddle of the Sphinx? What's a Sphinx? You've all seen pictures at some point in your life of the big statue-like thing out in front of the pyramids of Giza. Body of a lion, head of a man. Okay? The riddle of the Sphinx was, what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, 3 legs in the evening? And the answer is a man, a human. A baby crawls on 4 legs, an adult walks on 2, an old person walks with a cane. That's the 3rd leg. Okay? Nobody could solve this thing until Oedipus came. Okay? And what the Sphinx did is it parked itself outside the city gates of Thebes, and it demanded of the Theban authorities tribute. Every day, you got to give me a Theban to eat. Now, maybe the Theban would try to answer the riddle, because if you answer the riddle successfully, the Sphinx goes away. Nobody did until Oedipus came. So, Oedipus comes out. And we're told, "O my children, the new blood of ancient Thebes, why are you here? Huddling at my altar, praying before me, your branches wound in wool." He doesn't mean this is the altar to Oedipus and they're praying to him. Right? Praying before means they're praying at his altar to the gods before he got out there to pray. So, why are you here? Here I am myself. You all know me. The world knows my fame. I am Oedipus. So he helps an old priest up. Says, what do you want? O Oedipus, king of the land, our greatest power, you see us before you. Okay? You're going to see the word see and sight in seeing multiple times throughout the play. And that's because, and you're also going to see images for dark, darkness, blindness, unseeing several times. Why? Because that's one of the themes Sophocles is dealing with. Sight versus blindness. Who really sees? Who really knows? Who doesn't see? Who is ignorant? So, you see before us. You see us before you, men of all ages, clinging to your altars. Okay? And what does the priest say you see? Our city, look around, you see with your own eyes. What? The city is sick. Our ship pitches wildly. Cannot lift her head from the depths, the red waves of death. He uses the metaphor of the city as a ship out on the sea. And it's not a nice, smooth sea. The ship is tossing and turning. Right? He says death is eating away the city. Children are stillborn. Livestock are stillborn. The crops are dying. The rains aren't coming, etc. That usually means, Greek literature, the gods are angry. So we've got to do something. We've got to find out why the gods are angry. Now we pray to you. Line 39. You cannot equal the gods. They're not going as far as to say, you are a god to us, Oedipus. Why? Because the gods in ancient Greek literature always get very upset when somebody ascribes godlike qualities to a human. That usually will either, one, immediately bring down the wrath of the gods, like Zeus with a thunderbolt, person gets struck dead then and there, or some horrible fate comes about. Well, we've got the horrible fate in this one. So, but we do rate you first of men, both in the common crises of our lives, face-to-face encounters with the gods. You freed us from the Sphinx. You came to Thebes, cut us loose, etc. So, you solved that problem, Oedipus. We got a new problem for you to solve. We implore you, find us strength, rescue. Maybe you've heard the voice of a god. Maybe the gods have spoken to you what the problem is. Okay? What do you know? The man of experience, you see it every day. Act. Do something. Solve the problem, Oedipus. And Oedipus says, Line 69. My children, I pity you. I see. How could I fail to, notice, I see. How could I fail to see? Another way of putting that is, I see. How could I be blind? To what? To what longings bring you here? I know what your problems are. I know what you're here for. I've taken care of it, he says. How? I sent Crayon, my brother-in-law, to the oracle at Delphi, okay, to learn what Apollo, the prophet's oracle, what I might do or say to save our city. Delphi in Greece, the place is still there, okay? The oracle of Delphi was a person who supposedly Apollo spoke to. And Apollo gave you, or would tell the oracle, your future. But it was never, Catherine Geiger on such and such day is going to graduate from HSU, and 2 years after that she's going to get this job, and 20 years after that, it wasn't like that. It was always, like fortune cookie future. It was very amorphous so that it could apply often to anybody, with some exceptions. Oedipus being one of those exceptions. Okay? So, I sent Crayon to ask the gods, what do we need to do? And he says, it's a little late. He should be getting back by now. And I go, there he is. And Crayon comes in. Crayon, prince, my kinsman, line 97. What do you bring us? What message from the god? Good news. Well, that's auspicious. That's a positive way to begin. I tell you, even the hardest things to bear, if they should turn out well, all would be well. Okay, but what were the God's words? Come on, tell us. Crayon, if you want my report in the presence of these, ... and he points to the priest while drawing Oedipus towards the palace. So, he says, if you want my report in the presence of these, and he points to him and he kind of takes Oedipus by the shoulder and directs him towards the doorway. What's Crayon trying to do? Let's go talk in private. Why? Why would he do that?
It might not be good news.
Might not be, but he said good news. Doesn't good news depend on something? Yeah, it depends on who the news is for/about. Okay? So he tries to get Oedipus to go inside. Put this in a modern context. This isn't Oedipus and Crayon. This is President Trump and Vice President Pence. And Pence has just gotten back, I don't know, from a meeting with Putin. Let's say about getting rid of all nuclear weapons or something. And he's like, Mike, so what's the news? And he's like, well, Mr. President, if you'd really like to know out here in front of CNN and MSNBC and Fox, or we could go inside. Speak out, speak to us all. I grieve for these, my people, far more than I fear for my own life. What is Oedipus showing us there about himself? Let me back that up. By not taking Crayon's advice to go inside, behind closed doors, what's Oedipus showing?
Trust.
In whom? Okay, transparency. Okay, it's one way of looking at it. What else? Is this a smart political move for Oedipus or Trump, if this were happening? Or, if you don't want to use Trump, Obama and, whichever one of his Secretary of States or Biden. I don't care. Pick your poison, so to speak. No. Why not? It's rash. He doesn't think about it at all. He just, boom. Here's in response. Okay? Maybe it does fit better with Trump, because it's been like immediately getting on Twitter, Because Crayon says, I'm ready now that I can speak now if you want, or we can go inside. No, speak out. I grieve for these, my people, far more than I fear for my own life. That's a little bit of dramatic irony, because the audience already knows the whole story, and they're like going, oh boy, is he going to get it. He hasn't really said a lot, but he's setting himself up. Okay, this is the slow pitch right in the middle of the box. Okay, here's what the God says. Drive the corruption from the land. Don't harbor it any longer, past all cure. Don't nurse it in your soil, root it out. Notice, that's in quotation marks. That's kind of, they didn't have quotation marks in ancient Greece, but it's meant to imply this is what the God literally said. Oedipus, how? What do we need to do? What's the source of the trouble? Banish the man or pay back blood with blood. Okay, what man? Murder sets the plague storm on the city. Whose murder? Notice, everything Crayon says results in what from Oedipus? A question. It's like, come on, get to the point here. You're leading me on. Whose fate does Apollo bring to light? Our leader, Lord, was once a man named Laius. Yeah, I know. I never saw him. The audience is snickering. Yeah, you did. You just don't remember it. Well, he was killed, and Apollo commands us now, pay the killers back. Good. Where? Where are the killers? Are they here? Are they in another land? Here. Okay, that makes it easier. I don't have to go to Moscow. Where? Where here? In the palace? Why does he ask in the palace first? Because that's dramatic irony. Foreign soil? Where did Laius... No, he's not asking where the killers are. He's asking, where did Laius die? Did he die in the palace? Because there is a Greek drama written by a contemporary and a little bit older than Sophocles, tragedian, and the drama is called Agamemnon. And in Agamemnon, the great Greek general Agamemnon, who led his troops in the Trojan War, comes back from the Trojan War after 10 years. His wife welcomes him home, leads him into his palace, and promptly stabs him to death with her boyfriend. Okay? So, I think Oedipus is kind of like, well, this is involved. But Oedipus, the myth of Oedipus, the character of Oedipus, is older than Agamemnon. But the audience still understands it within the same. So, where did he go? Laius went to meet an oracle. And he never came home. Nobody ever saw what happened. Nobody reported what happened. He says, well, one person escaped. He couldn't tell us anything other than a band of thieves killed him. A whole band. Not single-handed. Oedipus, really? A thief would kill a king? Wow. Yep. But with Laius dead, no leader appeared to help us in our troubles. What? Your king was murdered. Why didn't you do anything? Sphinx showed up. Oedipus. I'll start again. In other words, this is a cold case. This happened years ago. We're not told exactly, but probably at least 20. Because something we're going to be told at the end of the poem about his sons, Oedipus' sons. They've already left the city. Okay? So they were old enough to leave. Oedipus, I'll start again. I'll reopen the case. I'll bring it all to light myself. Why? Because the case now is what? It's in darkness. It's shrouded in mystery. I'm going to solve it all. Now you have me to fight for me. You'll see. I am the land's avenger. So, he says, whoever killed the king, 158 or so, may decide to kill me too. With the same violent hand, by avenging Laius, I defend myself. I mean, if you have somebody who's willing to kill one king, what's going to stop him from killing two? Okay? So, he tells the priests, get your branches, go out and leave. And the priests and the others leave, and the chorus comes in. This is our paradox. Chorus comes in, talks to Zeus, talks about the other gods, talks about Thebes dying. Okay? Talks about Artemis, the huntress. Thebes comes out. The chorus is still out there. Oedipus comes out. The chorus is still out there. 245. You pray to the gods? Let me grant your prayers. That's showing a little bit of hubris. That's saying, you don't need to bother the gods. I'll take care of your problems. Okay? He says, come listen. Do what the plague demands. So, I speak out now as a stranger to the story, a stranger to the crime. That's dramatic irony. If I'd been present, well, you know. So what does he do? If anyone knows the murderer is a stranger, someone from alien soil, let him speak up. He starts kind of very, very generally. He's going to get to specifics. Okay? Speak up. And I'll show gratitude. Silence. Nobody knows. But if you keep silent, if anyone panicking, trying to shield himself or friend or kin rejects my offer, then hear what I will do. Notice. He doesn't say if anyone keeps silent knowing the person is a foreigner. He says if anyone keeps silent trying to shield, what? Himself or a friend or kin. No longer a foreigner, now one of your tribe, one of your family. Here's what I'm going to do. I order you, every citizen of the state where I hold throne of power, banish this man. Whoever he may be, never shelter him, never speak a word to him, never make him partner to your prayers. Your victims burn to the gods. Never let the holy water touch his hands. Drive him out, each of you from every home. He is the plague, the heart of our corruption, etc. Okay? So I honor my obligations. I fight for the God and for the murdered man. Okay, so who was that curse on? The person who knows who the murderer was and doesn't speak. Now for the person who actually did the murder. Whoever he is, a lone man unknown in his crime, or one among many. Why does he say a lone man unknown in his crime? When Crayon said that the messenger said it was a group of thieves. Let that man drag out his life in agony. Step by painful step. Yeah, it's pouring out there. I curse myself as well. And the audience goes, yep. It's like that outside. Now all that's coming down on you, man. You are calling down terrible judgment on yourself. If by any chance he proves to be an intimate of our house, well, you don't get more intimate to the palace, to the kingship, than the king himself. May the curse I just called down on him strike me. So, here's your orders. And he goes on, he talks about Apollo, he talks about, trying to figure out what's wrong. He curses those who disobey the orders. And the leader says, I know another way we can get to the truth of this. Line 323. I still believe Lord Tiresias sees with the eyes of Lord Apollo. Anyone searching for the truth might learn it from the prophet. Oedipus, I'm ahead of you. I've already called for him. Okay? I've already sent Crayon. He's on his way here. In fact, I'm surprised he's not here yet. Notice, I'm surprised Crayon's not here yet. I'm surprised Tiresias isn't here yet. He says that twice. Okay? It's because he's going to make a claim not a few moments. It'll be on Wednesday when we talk about that part. But he's going to say something about Crayon and Tiresias. So, the leader mentions old, useless rumors. What rumors? Well, they say Elias was killed by certain travelers. He says, yeah, but I understand that. Okay? So, the leader says, here comes Tiresias. He'll speak the truth. Listen to Oedipus's introduction to Tiresias. How he speaks of him. Tiresias, by the way, old figure in Greek literature. He shows up in these plays, all three of them. He shows up in Homer, okay, in the Odyssey, not in the Iliad. I don't think he's in the Iliad. O Tiresias, master of all the mysteries of our life, all you teach and all you dare not tell, signs in the heavens, signs that walk the earth. Blind as you are, you can feel all the more what sickness haunts our city. You, my Lord, are the one shield, the one Savior we can find. So, put that in a nutshell. What's he saying about Tiresias? He's the one person who can solve this problem. And he's never wrong. Okay? So, Tiresias comes in and he says, 359, how terrible to see the truth when the truth is only pain to him who sees. Well, who is him who only sees? That's Tiresias. He's saying, it sucks to be a truth teller. To always see the hidden dark things. I knew it well, but I put it from my mind. Else I never would have come. I knew back when he was killed who did it. But I put it from my mind and I kind of stayed away. So, Oedipus, why is so grim, so dire? Send me home. You bear your burdens, I'll bear mine. Oedipus doesn't know what his burdens are, other than, to solve the plague of Thebes. Tiresias knows exactly what his burdens are, as well as his own. Oedipus, well, that's a strange response. You're not going to tell us? I fail to see. If I fail to see, that means I'm blind. That your own words are so well timed. I'd rather not have the same thing said of me. He's essentially saying, send me home. You don't want to hear what I have to say. For the love of God, don't turn away. We beg you. None of you knows, and I will never reveal my dreadful secrets. Not to say your own. You've got secrets, Oedipus. This is his, using pig Latin. I ontwe elte or ye egret say. Oedipus, eh? You know? You won't tell? Well, what did Oedipus say in his curse? Banish the man who knows who the murderer is and won't tell. You scum of the earth. You'd enrage your heart of stone. You won't talk? Out with it. Don't criticize my temper, unaware of the one you live with. You revile me. Okay? Tiresias, what will come, even if I shred it all inside us. He means, don't worry, the truth's going to come out eventually. And what does Oedipus do? I'll let loose. I have such fury in me. And he pauses. Now I see it all. What happened between I'll let loose, I have such fury in me, and now I see it all? What has Oedipus, quote unquote, realized or thought?
He thinks he's trying to protect himself.
You did it, because he goes on and accuses. You did the killing. Tiresias, okay, fine. And what does he do? You're going to accuse me? Fine. So Tiresias says, you are the curse, the corruption of the land. What does Oedipus immediately assume? You lying, stinking son of a... You're only saying that because I said you did it. What proof does Oedipus have? This is an accusation, right? It's simply a blatant charge. Any proof? None. Okay? What proof might Tiresias have? The gods. He's the seer. He's the one that Oedipus called the savior of the land. Okay, we'll stop there. I don't know if we'll have a quiz on Wednesday. We might. If we do, it'll be over the whole play. We'll finish this on Wednesday.